Big maps, tanks, helicopters, squads pushing objectives, buildings getting blown apart. That's the surface level stuff. That's what everyone notices in the first 5 minutes. But the more I play Forefront, the more I think the real genius of this game is not just the scale, and it's not just the chaos. It's not even the fact that it gives VR players the closest thing we've ever had to a proper Battlefield-style war game. The real thing the devs have figured out is retention. They've figured out how to keep people playing, and that is a very different thing. Because making a VR game that gets people excited for a week is one thing. Making a VR game that people are still saying one more match at 1 a.m., that is a completely different beast. When you look at the way this game is being built, it doesn't feel random. It feels engineered. Not in a bad way. I mean engineered like these devs understand that a multiplayer shooter needs more than just good gunplay. It needs goals. It needs skill gaps. It needs unlocks. It needs things to master. It needs moments where you get absolutely destroyed by someone and instead of quitting, you go, all right, I want to be able to do that. That's the magic. That's the thing that keeps people grinding. And Forefront does that really well. Because, let's be honest, VR multiplayer games have a problem. A lot of them are amazing for the first few sessions. You jump in, you go, wow, this is sick. You grab the gun, you reload it manually, you throw a grenade and accidentally bounce it off the door frame and kill yourself. Classic VR. But then after a while, the novelty wears off. You've seen the maps, you've used the guns, you've had those cool moments, and suddenly the game has to answer one very important question. Why should I come back tomorrow? That question kills a lot of VR games. Not because they're bad, but because they don't have enough long-term structure. Forefront doesn't just have a match loop. It has a progression loop, a skill loop, a class loop, a vehicle loop, a social loop. And now, with the way they're staggering features and adding systems over time, it has an update loop as well. That's huge, because the game doesn't need to be finished in one giant dump of content. In fact, it's probably better that it isn't. If they launched with every map, every attachment, field perk, and every possible feature all at once, players would blast through it, complain there's nothing left, and move on. Gamers are like locusts. We consume content at a disturbing rate. You give us a new map, we'll play it for 6 hours straight and go, is that it? So what Forefront seems to be doing now is smarter. They're pacing it. They're giving the game layers. You start with the core experience, the big VR warfare. Then you add more depth, which is new maps, gadgets, field perks, training grounds, manual helicopter controls, some balance passes thrown in with some progression changes, more reasons to experiment. That's momentum. And momentum is what keeps a multiplayer game alive. When a game feels like it's moving, the community moves with it. People keep talking, people keep making videos, people keep arguing in Discord. That's the heartbeat of a live game. And Forefront has that heartbeat right now. Now, I know some people will say, well, shouldn't everything just be in the game already? And I get that. Gamers are impatient. I'm impatient. ADHD, hello. We all want everything now. But for a multiplayer game, especially a VR multiplayer game, pacing can actually be healthier. Because if you dump everything all at once, the game spikes and then drops. Everyone jumps in, burns through it, and then complains there's nothing else to do. Looking at you, One Chewy. But if you build it properly, update by update, system by system, you create a reason for the community to keep breathing. That's what Forefront needs, because the biggest enemy of any multiplayer game is silence. Empty servers. No one talking about it. No one making videos. No one caring what comes next. That's death. And right now, Forefront feels alive. Messy sometimes, frustrating sometimes, absolutely cooked sometimes, but alive. Now, the best example of this is the helicopters, because helicopters in Forefront are already one of the biggest skill gap features in the entire game. If you can fly, you are valuable. If you can't fly, you're basically a passenger in your own funeral. And I say that with love because we've all seen it. You spawn in, you hop into the chopper, and some bloke grabs the controls with all the confidence in the world, lifts off 3 meters, spins sideways, clips a tree, and sends the whole squad into the Shadow Realm. Beautiful. But that's also why helicopters are so important. They create identity. Some players are infantry players. Some players are role-playing as bushes. And when a game lets you build an identity like that, that's when people start sticking around. Because now you're not just playing the game, you have a role. You have a thing you're trying to master. You're not just Cloud playing Forefront. You're Cloud the pilot, or Cloud the medic, or Cloud the idiot who keeps trying to C4 tanks and getting shot before he reaches them. And then the devs go and add manual helicopter controls. That is a big deal. It makes flying feel more physical. It makes it feel more like VR. It gives high-skill players something new to flex with, and it gives newer players something to aspire to. That is how you keep a game alive. You don't just add more stuff, you add stuff that makes people want to improve. A new skin might get people excited for 10 minutes, but a new system to master can keep people playing for months. Whoa, how many was that? Bro, you just mowed them all. This is what I mean when I say the devs have cracked the code. They're not just feeding us content, they're feeding us mastery. And mastery is addictive. You see a good pilot dominating the sky, dodging missiles, lining up gunner shots, dipping behind mountains, flaring at that perfect time, and you go, I want to do that. That's the hook. And it's the same thing with weapons. This is where the clav comes in. Now, I obviously don't know if the devs sat in a secret room and went, right, boys, make the AK crack so everyone grinds assault until their eyes fall out. But it kind of feels like it, let's be real, because the AK being one of the most desirable weapons and sitting right at the end of the grind is a very smart move. That final unlock matters. It gives players something to chase. You see someone using it, you get melted by it. You check what weapon it was, you realize it's the final assault unlock, and suddenly your brain goes, right, I need that. That's the carrot on the stick, and games need carrots. So quote me on that. Games need carrots. Yep.
I need help.
Oh, what are you doing there?
You scared me.
People can pretend they don't care about unlocks all they want, but we all do. We love the chase. We love seeing a bar move. We love unlocking a new gun. We love the feeling of the last 5 losses actually getting us somewhere. And in a game like Forefront, that matters even more because the matches can be so chaotic. You might have a game where you play brilliantly and still lose. You might have a game where your entire team refuses to touch the objective. Looking at you, bushes. You might have a game where the enemy helicopter is farming your spawn like it's harvesting season. We've all been at the mercy of that. It's not fun. So the progression system gives you a backup reward. Even if the match is rough, you're still working towards something. You're still gaining XP, you're still getting closer to that next weapon, you're still making progress. That softens the frustration. It gives you a reason to say, all right, one more, just one more game. The next big challenge for Forefront is what happens after players hit max level, because this is where a lot of games start to wobble. The early progression is easy. You give people guns, attachments, gadgets, levels, classes to grind. Done. Easy. Then your most dedicated players, the absolute animals, the players who treat the game like a second job, they hit max level. And then suddenly the game has to answer that same question again. Why should I keep playing? And yes, some people will keep playing just because the game is fun. That's great. That's the purest form of retention. But for a live multiplayer game, fun alone is usually not enough for everyone, especially not long term. The most dedicated players need status. They need prestige. They need mastery. They need something that says, I've been here. I've put in the hours and I have suffered through the grind. I have earned this. And the devs have already talked about looking at ways to keep progression going for max level players. And that is exactly the right direction. Because Forefront cannot just stop at you unlocked everything. Good job. It needs an end game. Not some ridiculous battle pass treadmill where you feel like you're doing chores. Something meaningful. I'll take that. Prestige could work really well. Imagine hitting max level and being able to prestige your soldier rank. You reset, but you get a permanent badge, a number, an icon, a banner, something that shows people that you've done the climb. That alone would keep a lot of people playing. But I think they could go even further. Class mastery would be huge. Assault mastery, medic mastery, engineer mastery, bush mastery. Give people long-term goals tied to the class they love. Imagine seeing someone with a max level medic badge and immediately knowing this person has probably revived half the player base over their lifetime. Or seeing an engineer badge and knowing this bloke has repaired more vehicles than most people have destroyed. Or seeing a pilot rank and knowing, okay, this guy probably knows what he's doing. Although, to be fair, sometimes he still doesn't. But at least the badge would look cool. Weapon mastery would also be massive, because if the AK is the carrot to get people through the assault grind, then weapon mastery is the carrot after that. Gold skins, blackout skins, kill trackers, mastery charms, not silly Fortnite looking stuff. Let's keep it grounded, keep it forefront, but give players something to flex, because players love flexing.
This is my scar.
If someone has 5,000 kills with the Scar, let them show that. If someone has mastered the RPG, give them the badge that says, yes, I am the problem. If someone has spent 100 hours in helicopters, give them a pilot patch. That stuff matters. It gives people identity, and identity keeps communities alive, because that's what the best multiplayer games do. They don't just ask, what can the player unlock? They ask, who does the player want to become? Do you want to be the pilot? The medic? The tank hunter? The objective rat? The bush nobody likes? The madman with C4? The bloke who spends the entire match repairing vehicles and somehow ends up at the top of the leaderboard? Forefront already supports those identities through gameplay, so now it just needs to reward them long term. That's where the devs can really separate this game from the rest of VR. I don't know. You bastard. Now, there is one important thing here. They do have to be careful, because progression is powerful, but bad progression can ruin a game. Nobody wants Forefront to turn into a checklist simulator. Nobody wants to log in and feel like they have homework. Nobody wants 10 daily challenges saying, get 3 kills while crouching, blindfolded upside down using a pistol during a blood moon. The progression needs to fit the game. It needs to reward how people naturally play. Revive people, repair vehicles, capture objectives, destroy armor, fly helicopters, supply teammates, defend points, and push with your squad. Reward the stuff that makes the game better. That's the key. Because if the progression system encourages selfish behavior, it can actually hurt the game. You don't want people ignoring objectives just to farm weird challenges. You don't want medics refusing to revive because they're chasing SMG kills. Ugh. So the best version of long-term progression is one that makes people play the game properly. Reward team play, class identity, objective work, reward mastery. That would fit Forefront. Oh man, headshots, come on, die! Alright, my closing point. If Forefront can keep giving players new goals without ruining the balance, without making it pay to win, and without turning it into some soulless live service checklist, then this game could genuinely become the VR shooter. Not just for a month, not just while the hype is fresh, but long term. The kind of game people keep installed. The kind of game people return to after trying other VR shooters. The kind of game where you don't just ask, is anyone playing? You ask, who's online tonight? That's the difference. And I think the devs know it. They know the core game works. They know the Battlefield fantasy works. They know the community is hungry for more. Now, they just have to keep feeding the right parts of the game. More reasons to grind. More reasons to specialize. More reasons to master vehicles. More reasons to play your class properly. More reasons for max level players to keep showing up. Because at the end of the day, players don't just need something to play. They need something to chase. Need those carrots. And right now, Forefront has that. One more level, one more unlock, one more gun, one more match, one more reason to squat up and jump back in. And that right there is how you keep a battlefield alive. Thanks for watching. My name's Max, but you can call me Cloud, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Hell yeah. Well done. Did not expect to revive in the middle of that chaos. All right, I'll be out of here.
Right. I gotta create these guys.
I can't, there's too many.
If I had a...
Oh man, I had 5. I killed 5.